but why do women have sex? And at the end of the book, they come up with 237 reasons why women have sex. So that's a good thing and a bad thing for men. So for men, it's a good thing because, man, if you're short or if you're poor or if you're overweight, you got a bunch. As a man, if you play quarterback for a football team or if you're a cardiologist, the things that make you professionally viable also make you sexually attractive to the opposite sex. If you're a cardiologist and you're a female, the things that make you sexually viable are not the same as the things that make you sexually attractive to the opposite sex. And one of the difficulties that happens is the female cardiologist, she's going to be looking for men to date that are in her same tax bracket and her same education level. But the problem is those men are looking back at the female cardiologist, but they're also looking back at the younger women who are not cardiologists, who don't have a degree and are just hot. There's this competition problem that ends up happening. And so that's where the difference becomes. If there was a female cardiologist and she saved one of my family members' life, she would have incredible value to the world, but it wouldn't make me want to date her more. Does that make sense? Women generally pick men is that there's a 15% of men up at the top that get a lot of attraction from women. And then there's a bottom third of men that don't get to participate in short-term dating at all. Yeah, they don't. And so but you're saying that, but like you don't like that. You don't like that.
They are invisible to you.
They're invisible. No, they're not.
Wait, no. As Homath would say, they're not people.
They're not people.
Oh, no.
Homath calls them not people. All right, beautiful.
That is so brutal. I see
Savage
that.
mode.
I hate to be the one to correct you on this too, because I'm seeing these clips right now where you're explaining like the 80-20 rule. Sure. Basically what it is. This is David Buss. Everybody drink. Okay, I said it first. When you're giving that stat, you're usually saying like, or 80% of men are deemed unattractive.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the 20% are attractive. It just means they're not unattractive.
No. Well, yeah, what I'm saying, so this is the difference. Where a lot of guys get this wrong is they believe that like 20% of men are sleeping with 80% of women. That's not what's going on.
Absolutely not true.
What's happening is there is a 20% of men that are getting attraction from 80% of women. They're not sleeping with all of them. And then there's a good number of men. Mac and Murphy said it was about a third. Depending on what you look like, it could be 28%, 18%. There's this like bottom quartile of men that have no chance in short-term dating unless they do something drastic in order, or like do something like get in really good shape or join Men of Action, something like that, and then they can get out of that group. And then there's my whole contention is that top 15% of men that get the most attraction, the top 20% of men, it's never been easier to get into that group. It really hasn't. I mean, but you can go get professional photos done. You can get in shape. You can dress better. You can start a scalable business. There's a bunch of you can build a brand online. You can start a podcast. You can start doing man on the street videos. There's a million things you can do. You can become a famous plastic surgeon. You can become a guitarist. There's a million different ways that guys can get into that top 15%. Yes. So the point I was going to make is when Cindy Meston and David Buss wrote the book called Why Women Have Sex, one of the things that they talk about in the beginning of the book is, why didn't you guys write a book called Why Men Have Sex? And Dr. Buss stated, because it would have been a pamphlet. It would have been a very short book. Why men have sex. But why do women have sex? And at the end of the book, they come up with 237 reasons why women have sex. So that's a good thing and a bad thing for men. So for men, it's a good thing because, man, if you're short or if you're poor or if you're overweight, you got a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different avenues that you can generate attraction.
But I peg women's like peak sexual market value years at about 23 years old, right? So that's when they top out. So it's burns hot and fast, and then it drops off a cliff after that. Men tend to be more gradual. So I look at men's sexual market value peak at right around 36 or 7 years old.
Okay.
Because that's usually when a guy has already got his business together. He's made partner in the law firm. It takes longer for a man to get to the point where he has maximized his potential for his sexual market value, right? Again, sexual market value. I'm not talking about the physique side, but there are more things that make a man attractive to a woman than for women. Women's usually just it's physique and it's fertility and it's youth and beauty, right? More or less. And availability.
Sure.
Once you pass the boner test, everything else is just icing on the cake, okay? But for guys have to have more. We have to have a burden of performance, as I've said in all my books. When you get to 30, you get to 36, you get to 38, it's around that time that women expect men to have achieved those things that make them maximally attractive. And so therefore, when people come at me, and this is more to your point here, when people come at me and they say, well, I don't see as many 23-year-old women going after 38-year-old guys, I go, that's not what that means. Those 2 points are mutually exclusive, okay? So the guy who is at 36, 38, of course, I'm not saying the ideal situation would be for the 38-year-old and a 23-year-old to get together. Hey, if you want to, more power to you. But the thing is I'm not saying that a 23-year-old woman should. and I never use the word should necessarily be attracted to a guy who's 38. But if she's looking for a guy who's anywhere between, 3 to 7 years older, that's the statistic, right?
Sure.
3 to 7 years older than herself. The reason why she's looking for a guy who's slightly to 7 years older is because there's something intrinsic to the female psyche that says for a guy to actually be legit, for him to have the things that make him maximally attractive, he's got to be older than me. I got to know that he's going to make partner in their law firm. He's got to gone through his education. He's got to be a good judge of character. He's got to be funny. He's got to love his mom. He's got to like puppy dogs. Wants to have kids in the future. Has to be hot. Still has to have a six-pack, depending on what age he happens to be. He's got to have some status. He's got to have a lot of other qualifiers that go with him, so he's the complete package. You don't get that until you get to be about 36. You're not hitting your stride as a man until you get into your mid-30s. What I'm saying is, like, when guys get to that point and they're not married and they're unencumbered by all of these responsibilities that they would have necessarily taken on if they got married at, like, say 30 or something like that, they get to that point, now they can be more sexually selective because if assuming they've maximized their potential, those guys have much more sexual selectivity than guys who would be, like, say 26 years old, because they're not made men at that point.
Well, when you're that age, you tend to go for older guys anyway. I'm sure you both have as well. Like, it's not even daddy
faster.
Right? They mature faster. Everyone your age, in your 20s, they're so immature. So you tend to go for slightly older men because they're calm.
And I think a lot of it does come down to, like, security. Like, women want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And not enough men are providing that for us.
Exactly.
So, especially in the same age group. So,
how old is your boyfriend?
He's 30.
Older than you?
He's 30, and I'm 25, so it's only a 5 year gap.
There it is.
My ex before that.
God, he's grooming you. Jesus.
No, my ex.
What kind of grooming is this? 5 years.
She's of age, Michael says.
Wait. And what does your boyfriend do for a living?
He's a stripper.
She didn't say.
No. He would like me to clarify, because I said last time that he was a stripper. He is a performer that does chip in.
Male.
She didn't go. He's a stripper. She goes, he's a stripper. That's great.
Okay, no, but my ex was like 40 now.
Oh, okay.
So like that's so much worse.
That's crazy. It's super worse.
But it's actually
Does anybody
hilarious.
realize that I'm just sitting here? Does anybody? Nobody even cares that I'm just sitting right
You
here.
literally look exactly the same. You look exactly the same.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Like
So
10
we met
years.
10 years ago, and she says I look exactly the same.
They
Yeah.
literally look like exactly the same. And it's actually a trend at the moment for guys to go for younger women. And I think that's mostly, it's giving me kind of grooming vibes. Like, you can, like, morph the girls and, like, to grow up however you want. And I actually find that not a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. Like, because eventually then they're going to find someone who's happy with them exploring themselves and becoming who they are meant to be, as opposed to who have they been morphed into by a
What do you mean exploring
an
themselves?
older man, for instance.
Got it. What do you mean exploring
Well, it's
themselves?
like, for instance, you'll know about, like, soul searching or whatever you think, you know, finding who you are as a person. You know, we start to become who we surround ourselves with. So how is someone meant to know that if they are literally confined to just knowing what they're taught or, like, morphed into, you know,
Right.
like, groomed into?
Then-
You can literally have, like,
But
an older guy date a younger woman,
how
and
could-
tell them how to dress, what to do their hair.
What
like,
if
how
the
to-
older guy does not tell the younger woman how to dress? And what if we're talking about two people who are around the same age where the man is just as controlling? Like, this is a regular, like, Quaker Islamic wedding.
They still morph. We still morph into, like, our partners,
For sure.
right? Like little
Absolutely.
traits
And
we
then,
pick up even when we've left.
So
we pick up
is it
traits.
also possible for a woman to have toxic traits and to also pass those things
my
along
gosh,
and beat
women can be horrible.
and beat the men down?
Oh,
because-
women can be horrible, bro. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm gonna. no, they can. Like, I have, I've dated some incredible guys. I've also dated a really, really bad one. But, I know for a fact how horrible women can be. We can be so malicious. Hopefully, I'm not saying that about myself. Just saying. Hint, hint. Okay. But no, I've come across some really, really horrible women, and also some guy friends who have been broken by women. You know, and it's like we've constantly got this battle of the sexes going on, whilst there's so much going on around us. You know, it's like this.
You do understand why older guys are attracted to younger girls?
Of
Younger
course,
women.
of course. But then I also think it's like you can't be angry with them when they want to go and do their own thing eventually, you know. And I think that's when kind of abuse comes into it. You know, and controlling issues.
So,
They literally have all the same Instagrams.
What do you mean?
Everyone's like
They're all
morphing into the same
templates.
people. Everyone's got like 10 million followers. They're standing outside the same car or the same villa with loads of money.
Yeah, that's how we do it. We all
I'm
take
like,
pictures.
all trying to manage own hands. I'm like, oh, we're
God, dude, those guys. That's a different
They're
group.
the worst ones.
So if you ever
just want free content.
Yeah, you have the guy like whenever I'll host a photo shoot, and there's the girl's always like, hey, can I bring my manager? And it's like, let me guess, it's your manager / NFT supplier / used car salesman / music producer / drug dealer / boyfriend / OF partner / OF manager. Is it that guy's? It's / social media manager. That is. Like, yeah, that's
exactly.
Yeah, she's like, that's exactly right. And he's got a Netflix special coming out next week.
Yeah. And also, they're the ones who message as well. Years ago, I was actually one of the first girls invited to Only.
Yeah.
It was London based. I had a message from this guy and he's like, you're such a hoe, blah, 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 blah. And you scroll down, please, can I manage you? And you're like, what?
like that's their game.
Yeah, I think everyone said no.
Let me break down her self-esteem and then tell her I can bring her back up.
And then he's like, I think no one wanted him to manage him, so he started his own AI girl. So I'm like, now you just want to, and it was using my eyes.
And probably making more money than he's ever made in his life.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the weird situation here? If I were to make AI images of you, I have to pay you royalties. If I were to make AI images of you, I have to pay you royalties. And if I were to make AI images of you, I have to pay you royalties. If I were to make a conglomeration of your 3 faces, I don't have to pay to anyone.
That's what they do. They merge.
Isn't that crazy? You guys remember that there was a writer's strike recently in Hollywood. Do you remember that? One of the main reasons behind the writer strike was because there were guys that were like, hey, we're just going to replace these writers with AI, with ChatGPT. And the writers were like, no, if you do that, we're going to strike. That's part of what the strike was about, is that artificial intelligence is going to really, really disrupt this. There was something, we had Jasmine Jafar on last week, and one of the things I discussed with her 2 weeks ago, was 2 concepts. One is the idea of the AI influencer replacing the actual real influencer, which doesn't seem realistic now, but it's just getting closer and closer and closer. And I think it's going to be very difficult. You guys know, like in 2019, making money on OF was way easier than it is now, and it's going to get progressively harder as creepy dudes start creating AI chatbots in order to talk to people. And the second thing, here's the big one. Ready? Hold on to your dicks, guys. Ready? These girls, these guys are subscribing to women and writing them.
Oh, yeah.
And the women are writing back, except it's not women writing back. It's Filipino guys that are sitting there, account managers who are writing back. Yeah. Now, if you guys want to go ahead and check federal law, that constitutes fraud. That is an FTC civil violation. Or actually, it's a criminal violation. And I'm waiting for a bunch of these. Guys on OF to file a class action lawsuit. I think something like that might happen in the future because a lot of these girls have agencies where they're like, again, I have a coaching program. If I say, hey, sign up for my coaching program, and you come on the call and it's an AI influencer, you can sue me for fraud. Make sense?
We tried to use this agency before, and they use these random guys from a different country, and I don't go fully nude. Well, at that time, I didn't go fully nude.
Yeah.
And they sent a random picture of a vagina in the inbox, and I remember seeing it like horrified. I'm like, where did you get this picture of a vagina? Like, where did you get this picture? Like, who's gonna sue me now? And they're like, yes, baby. Yes. I'm like, no, stop. Oh my goodness.
Was the vagina like crazy looking? I was at least proud to claim it.
I was like,
I'm not claiming this.
I will claim that. It was a pretty one.
God, the age of random. I have a perfect segue for this one.
Let's do it.
Okay,